Okay, Rekha, it's 6:30. Thank you everyone for joining. My name is Aashay. I'll be the host for today. I'll first invite Rekha Koita, who is the head of the CMU Mumbai Alumni Association, to give a welcome to our attendees, and Srini for joining us today. Rekha.
Hi everyone, great to see so many of you already online joining in time. Welcome to this webinar, part of the series that we are conducting at the CMU Mumbai Alumni Chapter. I think Shrinivas doesn't really require any introduction, but just a brief thank you firstly from my part for you to take out the time, Shrinivas, to come and be part of this webinar and help us kind of carry forward this whole series. As all of you would be knowing, Shrinivas heads the Dempo group in Goa, which is a huge conglomerate with a very wide range of businesses spanning from coal to food to football to all kinds of different interests. I think there are almost 10 businesses under his fold. Which is quite fascinating. I would have thought one of them would have been enough, I think, to keep me occupied. And he's managing 10. So I think it's going to be really interesting and engaging for us to find out how he manages to do all of this and hear his perspectives on various topics. I would also just like to briefly introduce and thank the host for this evening. Aashay will be moderating the session. And we also have Mansi Agarwal, another CMU alum, part of our Mumbai chapter, who will be handling the whole Q&A section. So over to you, Aashay. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Rekha, for the warm words, and welcome everyone again. I think before we begin, it is imperative that we pay our special respects and tribute to our martyrs at the LAC this week. Needless to say, we would not be even assembling here peacefully if it wasn't for them. So we should be grateful. The motto of CMU is "My heart is in the work," and through CMU Mumbai, as Rekha mentioned, our goal is to build community and bring influential minds to the forum so that we can build the country and well as build industry in India and everywhere else. And we are extremely glad to have Shrinivas Dempo here, who is the embodiment of taking it to the next level, from graduating from MBA in 1995 to being a trustee at Carnegie Mellon in 2019. Shrini, welcome. And as Rekha mentioned, you have taken all your conglomerate to the next level. I'd invite you to say a few words of welcome to our attendees as well as to our community.
Thanks, Aashay. Firstly, let me thank you, Rekha and Mansi, for having me here for the webinar series. I've attended a few of these webinar series and I found them to be extremely enlightening, informative, very, very interesting. And I felt lucky that you chose me. So, I feel very humbled and very, very excited at this opportunity. It's been many, many years since I graduated from CMU, but that's like really close to my heart. So anything connected with Carnegie Mellon, I've kept in close touch with the school, and I've seen how this school has been evolving. It's been really a proud moment for all Tartans like us. I've also seen the leadership, the audience profile, and I'm extremely thrilled to see so many other successful professionals, business people, sports enthusiasts, students. All this is very, very humbling. I intend to give no gyan. All of y'all are, very, very good at your own work or at your own professions. What I want to do is, with sharing my views, I want to learn more from you guys. So I think all of us need to acknowledge that we have taken risks in our life in whatever manner that may be, whether it's professionally, whether it's personally. And I think at the end of the day, we've got good education and we've got good analytical skills to absorb our failures. So I think that's very important for recognition to start with. And today we are living in very unprecedented and challenging times. So when I said that you acknowledge failure, you also get to see, do a reality check on where do you want to go from here.
Absolutely.
A few comments, I'd leave it open to you to sort of take this forward, and then I'll make my best attempt in giving my views on anything that you raise.
Great, thank you, and we're excited to kick off. Before we start, just a quick overview of the format. It's going to be 40 minutes of me moderating an interview with Srini, and then everyone, please put your attention to the Q&A box down at the bottom of the screen. Type your questions in and Mansi will be curating the questions. So as we go along towards the end, she will be moderating the Q&A session. So we want this to be as interactive as possible. And Shrini, today the topic, as we've discussed, is really the tactical angles of taking business and sport to the next level. And what are the ground realities of doing that, especially during these times of COVID. Before we get into the nuts and bolts of the interview, it's always good to understand where a person like you comes from. Growing up in one of the most illustrious families in Goa and arguably India, would love to learn about how you were groomed to take over the mantle as you were a child. What were the roles of mentors and advisors? And how did you get a touch of ground reality whilst you grew up to be in the position that you are today?
Let me start with the family first. Our family is a very old family from Goa. Our history dates back to more than 500 years, as we have documented. So we have an old house in Goa, which is testimony to the 500 years of our existence, which is still, and it's a joint family house. I was brought up in a very joint family environment. I had a grandfather who founded the business. He was the sort of the overriding personality in our lives.
Right.
Very, very powerful, impactful to all of us. And I think I learned a lot from him initially. What it taught us is always to be grounded, very disciplined with money. And I'll share a few anecdotes with you later when I said he taught us the value of money. Again, both my parents have been a big, huge influence in my life. We had a very simple living. We were, as I said, we were disciplined. I had 3 siblings. We were all 4 siblings, but I had 3 sisters. All of us were brought up in a very simple lifestyle. A small place like Goa, where you attract a lot of attention.
Right.
All of us were made to realize certain values and principles in life. So we came up from a conservative background, to say. Taking from there, how I got into education. I did my BCom and then MCom. And what I realized is that I need to work, because my grandfather and father made it absolutely essential that I need to get qualified in a much better manner to take over the business in the future, or to even join the business at that stage. So I said, before looking at any MBA schools, and I had an accounting background and a corporate finance in my BCom and MCom, I said, let me try my hand at work. So I actually worked for about a year in Standard Chartered in training departments. And that's when I applied, as I was doing my MCom in the evenings and working in the morning, I applied to various schools. I got in about 3 schools out of 6 that I applied. And I chose Carnegie Mellon, and I felt lucky that I chose. The college life was, the university life was very, very enriching, very, very value added, enlightening, taught me a lot. And I think what destiny had in store is, as I was graduating, I wanted to work, particularly. And I was trying very hard, attending all the sessions, where the job opportunity arise. But I think something else was in destiny for me. As I was graduating, my father was diagnosed for cancer, and I had no option but to get back and give him a helping hand to the business, which I realized was in a way good for me, because he stopped coming to office barely about 3 months after I've taken over. So I virtually take over a business right from the start, when I came from Carnegie Mellon back to work, and I thought that I'll get at least a year with him. As luck would have it for me, I was, in that sense, I was highly unlucky that I did not get the basic training from my father or my grandfather. But the values still remain.
And that must have been, but that must have been incredibly tough to come back from an education background abroad, to come back to an Indian economy that was just being liberalized in 1991 and take over a conglomerate without the guiding light of your father. So what was your approach in hitting the ground running, and how do you think Carnegie Mellon helped you, and Professor Kekre, who's attending, helped you in doing that and taking over the mantle?
So it was, when I came back, it was actually not a very good year. 96, onwards from 96 to about 98, the economy actually started worsening. We also had started a new pig iron plant, which my father said that I must look after first because we had a huge loan. And you know what a huge loan in India is. It's really. So I think, right from day one, I believed in one thing, Aashay, that you need to stick to your core values, what your elders taught you. Those need to be applied to your business. So there are certain things that you can't compromise.
Right.
Realize that money making is not the only thing in life. And it also has to be fueled by your passion. So I think these two things are very, very important. And then when I came back from CMU, and that's what CMU taught me, is to do analytical reasoning and analytical working on how these things turn out into numbers.
Right.
Yeah. Very easy to say, this is my vision, this is my passion. How do you put it in numbers? I think that's where I got a lot out of CMU. And why I value CMU is I came from a more softer skills background.
Correct.
If you all are engineers, hard mathematics. I was an accounting guy, to some extent economics, but a lot was softer skills. So that's the reason I chose Carnegie Mellon. I said, let me get into the gruel. And I remember Professor Kekre, he was not too happy with me when I took his first course in OR. That was not my best subject. But thanks to him, he sort of put me a lot of liking into OR. And I must thank all my professors at Carnegie Mellon, where, I think CMU gives you that one-to-one sort of, with the professor, with the other class. It's relatively a small class.
Right.
A small campus, very down-to-earth people.
Right.
I think all that happened very rightly for me. And those were lessons that I took. It was tough. I was dealing with two things. One is the shock of my father not being there. The shock of Indian economy not doing so well. And dealing with employees, some of whom were there when I was
right.
me as a boss.
Right.
And the whole system during those times was the decision making lied only at the boss's level.
Correct.
There was not much empowerment. All those Indian business.
Right.
They were only good execution, but all ideas emerged at the owner level. All decision makings emerged at the owner level. And once the owner decided, and I said, how do I get them to my side? Because every time I could see the body language. They were not. This is a guy who we went for his naming ceremony. And this is a guy now who's trying to boss over us.
Right.
I started saying that, why don't I empower these guys? Put the responsibility. It was a risk that I took because they were not used to taking decisions.
Right.
Many a times they did a blunder at it.
Right.
Must learn for our mistakes. And I think at the end, it worked very well for me by empowering my top management and middle management.
Right.
That the businesses went to the next level. It is
right.
The only thing I did was I encouraged them. I gave them that power they had not seen 20 years back before they took it over.
Right. And I think that's phenomenal that you were able to handle that crisis. And that's a perfect segue into what's going on today in terms of a completely unprecedented situation. But just to claw back to that for a minute, I've seen in family businesses when the heir apparent comes in, they do something, they either turn around a sick unit or they do something big to get the respect of the folks that have been at the business for years and years. So how did you bridge that gap at that level when you entered to ensure that everyone was on your side and not questioning your authority?
So it was not doing well. To take the trouble. So, I unit, which was the pig iron unit. It was, there were cash losses in the unit. There was a lot of flap in terms of cost structures. The market wasn't doing well. We had, in hindsight, saying it was a wrong decision to put a pig iron unit. See, the logic was that we were in the iron ore mining business and we thought that value addition would be a good proposition. Looking back, then I realized that it was not a good proposition because Goa only had iron ore. It didn't have other raw materials. It didn't have a good market to absorb the finished goods. So immediately when I came back, instead of having that ego, and I say that one should not have ego because you should always say that you are a speck in the ocean. One has to manage. I manage my ego at the cost of having my reputation at stake. And I said, I'm going to cut the losses. I convinced my father that we need to shut down this unit because this is not the right investment. And the first thing I did was settle the debt. You know, a lot of us, because of our huge egos, take huge debts and then the debts become unmanageable.
Right.
It was actually surgery for me in the first instance. I wouldn't pride myself because I didn't take the business from X to X square or X3 times.
Right. Right.
I done a business, but in hindsight, it was the best decision for the group because it was a unit. It was a unit which I found that there was no solution being geographical where it was. If we had to set that unit up in Karnataka, it would have been more sensible. So I think that was, I am humble enough to admit that though the unit failed, the group succeeded. Because we cut down losses and then we could focus on our other business and pump the cash that was going into that business into the other business, which became more profitable.
Wow, that's quite a story, and it's a sign of a leader to admit when you faltered and learned, and then come back up to move forward. And I think that's a very good tactical segue into our core topic of today, which is given the situation with COVID and MSMEs, large cap companies, public companies facing. There's a big question mark on the tactical day-to-day actions that businesses need to take. Whether, for example, whether it is related to debt management, debt and equity balance, hiring, retention, vendor management. There's a lot of, we have a variety of industry leaders attending today and MSME leaders. So using an example of your certain businesses, we would love to get some tactical guidelines on what needs to be done. And one example that comes in my mind is your mining business. Mining was the core of Dempo's business till in the mid-2000s. It was a cash cow, and you decided to sell it in 2009. So can you walk us through that gutsy decision and what MSMEs and businesses can learn today from what you did then?
So I'll go back to my first statement where I said that a business has to be driven by your core values and passion, and the values of your elders, which I respect a lot. Mining was no doubt the core business for the group. It contributed to more than half of our group turnover. It contributed to 3/4 of our cash profits. So in that sense, it was almost an identity for the group.
Right.
And I completely agree with you that you asked me which was the most difficult decision in your life was to sell the mining business. Because the family was extremely involved in it. It was an emotional business. It was not only the question of money. It was a question of relationships that we built with Japanese steel mills. It was a question of the attachment with the community where the mines resided.
Right.
So it was a whole host of things. It was just not money. But I realized that as this mining business grew in Goa, when it was run by 8, 9, 10 companies, which were traditionally running the business, it ran with all the rules and regulations in place.
Right.
Everybody was following environmental regulations, legal regulations, mining laws. But when it became too profitable, because hardly any businesses would give you a logic where you say your cost of production is 20 and your price is $150. So that was $120 margin.
Wow.
When these kind of businesses are there, my personal belief is it can't sustain for a long time. Because
too good to be true.
greedy people come in, they resort to all shortcut methods. Once the shortcut methods, there's a very clear and blur line between what is legal and what is not legal.
Correct.
I was kind of getting disillusionized by this, although I was making tons of money. I'll give you one instance, and when I say that a promise by our group is a promise, like Mr. Tata once said, that a promise is a promise. When he said Nano is making a loss,
right?
But he said, I have promised the middle class of this country that I will deliver a car at this price.
Correct.
I don't believe this, Aashay. When we were selling to the Japanese steel mills, we had a long-term contract with Nippon Steel, which is one of the largest steel mills.
Right. Right.
We had a contract. We were selling to them at something like $35 when the market price went to $120.
Wow.
Calculate the difference of that dollars, 2 million tons, and see how much I lost in more than a year. So this is when I said, am I going to follow the others and say that I'm going to break all the rules and regulations and I'm going to run after money? Or if I don't run after money, Then if I stay on to that business, then I said, look here, I will look like a fool to my shareholders.
Right.
You're making tons of money and you're not.
Right.
Best is to give up a business when it is profitable, when you'll get a good valuation out of it. And that's what prompted. So coming back, when you said, what would be your view? I would not use the word advice, but what would be the message to MSMEs is believe in your core values, believe in your passion, and see to it that it's fair to all. Once you believe in your business model, everything else falls in place. The rest is all, I think, mechanics of, how much debt you want. How much debt you want is based on what your business margins can generate.
Right.
What will be your empowerment to employees it's a culture in the organization.
Right.
Fundamentally, if you go to your values, and my values were challenged when I said my business was making huge profits and was not delivering the return that I wanted.
Right. And so I think that's a phenomenal lesson for businesses, which you really employed a long-term view, because in 2012, all the mining businesses were shut down and mining was banned in Goa. So you didn't look like the fool 3 years down the line, but you had a long-term view. So that is something for the MSME as well as the large cap sector to look at, is to have that long-term mindset. Do you think it's hard when you're at the ground level on a day-to-day basis with the cash crunch to have that long-term view? Or how do you think about that?
It is. To say long-term view is very, very hard topic. But I think you need to give patients a chance. That's what I believe. You need to give patients a chance. You need to believe in your business model. And you need to run the business model considering two things.
Right.
Particularly during the COVID times, I would say, please take care of your employees. And when I say employees is, if you are over-employing people, then you please restructure.
Correct.
But whatever employees that really contribute to your organization.
Correct.
Communicate with them. You may be forced to cut salaries, but communicate with them. Give them the assurance that they are, and when things improve, you will more than compensate them for whatever. Right. The second thing I would say is, focus on your customers. Whatever it takes, if by putting in more efforts, you need to hold on to your customers, give them certain discounts,
right.
give them giveaways. Please do that, because I don't think customer will never forget what you did.
Correct.
It's very easy to say this because these are challenging times. On the debt front, Aashay, I am very, very clear. Unless you're, I would say take chances, but be conservative. Because my reading is, though this is an orderly crisis, I heard Ashwath Damodaran about 3 days back from Stern School of Business. And he said, to me, this crisis looks the best. I mean, in terms of all the crises, but this is more orderly. There's not a bank going to be busted. Correct. Like that. But yes, it's a health pandemic. So we need to be patient. When you say we need to be patient, you need to have fire powder ready for about 12 to 18 months. Right. And I would, given a choice, if you had to raise both debt and knowing the uncertainty for the next 12 to 18 months, I would put my own savings into the business. If I believe in that business model, then raise debt. But at the end of the day, it's each one's call. If your margin, even in post-COVID or pre-COVID times, that you compare yourself and then take a calculated decision.
Right. And I think that's a great lesson and great to hear from someone who's done it. And what's interesting is that all your business experiences, as Rekha mentioned at the start, that Dempo is a conglomerate, not only in were you in mining, but you diversified into shipbuilding, into real estate, into food processing. So after mining, it was interesting that you built your Goa carbon business from scratch. And that is an example that can relate to today's time. You took advantage of a crisis and you diversified and diverted your business. So can you walk us through how you sold off your mining business and then moved to Goa Carbon? That's now the second largest producer of calcined coke in the country.
So I'll tell you what I when I sold my mining, I self-introspected and also did an exercise with my key executives as to each of our business segments. And I said, let's find a purpose for each business segment. And that time we were in all these segments, we were small. Like in Goa Carbon, we had just one unit in Goa. When you talked about shipbuilding, we had just one small yard in Goa, not even two.
Right.
Catering to our own barges. We were repairing our own barges, which were required for the mining industry. So when I started the iron ore mining industry, it lost its purpose. You know, the food processing unit was languishing. It was going because it was a joint venture with Glaxo. Glaxo overnight decided to sell his family products division. They said they focus only on pharmaceuticals because it was more profitable. Mr. Dempo was left high and dry. We didn't have a brand to sell. So we were loitering around saying what to do next. And the third was real estate. Real estate was a very small piece. We were only doing our own properties. The family-owned properties, which we said, instead of selling developed plots or just selling bare land, why don't you value add and sell? You know, so each one was trying to define a purpose. And I was lucky enough to get a sizable cash component that time from the sale of my mining business.
Right.
Once I defined a purpose for all these businesses, and then I did a matrix in terms of whether these businesses fit with my core values, whether I can do whatever I can, defining my value systems and morals and ethics.
Right.
And let's go ahead and build this business. And each of these sectors, I was lucky enough with my own team to build 3 times the size that what it was during the mining time.
Impressive.
Ask me about Goa Carbon. Goa Carbon, we thought this is just an export unit. But aluminum, which is the vital buyer of the carbon product, is all, the future of aluminum is India. It's expanding so well in aluminum because of the raw materials and access to good bauxite available and alumina. So we said, why don't we go to Orissa? So we located a unit in Orissa. I said, it's an extremely difficult proposition in India. Let's do a brownfield acquisition.
Right.
An owner was again saying that this is not a economical size for my capacity. So we took over his unit. We expanded the capacity there. And then not only that, we went to Bilaspur, which is in Chhattisgarh, which was very, and we acquired a unit, which was like a captive unit to Balco.
Got
so
it.
The process, I said, let us be based. And I learned this mistake from my pig iron unit, that I was not based close to my buyers. So I said, based close to our buyers, where they can live the raw material. Today, what we do is we do just-in-time technology.
Okay.
Buyers are safe from importing huge amount of quantities. We are closer to them. So they give us, okay, I need 3 rigs this week, 3 rigs next week. So they give us a longer term contract, but this, so their cash management is solved. And for us, it's an assured business.
Correct.
So we grew and, we were fortunate enough to get these 2 capacities getting on stream. And as you rightly said, now we are India's 2nd largest. We have further plans to grow into this sector because we believe aluminum is the metal of the current and the future.
Right.
Infrastructure sector growing in India. So this is how we build the business. And I must give credit to my team because what we did is, in addition to empowering the top management, we took younger level middle management who really delivered us the results of restructuring the units that we took over. Because it was not easy to set it up in our corporate governance standards, environmental standards that we need. But these were all small scale guys.
Right.
And that language.
Right.
So for a sizable amount of investment to make them compliant with all rules and regulations and to make them ISO compliant.
Right. I think, so what really strikes me about what you've described till now is the way you run your businesses has been extremely with the purview of professionalism. And it is very difficult in my experience and what I've read at least and what I've seen for family businesses to run like a professional organization, and especially tougher for Indian businesses. And so what do you think was a change in your mindset to make sure that your family business ultimately needs to be professionally run for it to scale and to make it a world-class business?
I personally was saying that how do you manage 10 verticals?
Exactly.
How can I manage 10 verticals and grow in them and find a purpose if I don't have people to build on my vision and execute it? Because I don't do any execution. I personally, We are all board managed companies. I have, on the listed entities, I have independent directors on the board. They have the company management. We have management teams at all levels, and they execute the vision and policies that are made with their help also.
Correct.
So I personally believe that that risk is worth taking if you want to be of scale in every business that you build.
Right.
Either you niche for yourself, like all my businesses are not built to scale. I'll give you my media business. My real is not built to scale because it's Goa centric. But what we realize that we have a value in being Goa centric. For example, and I don't want to take names, one of the biggest newspapers of the country is also operating in Goa, but they are still even after 10 years of existence. It shows that money power is not everything.
Right.
They put in so much of investment into Goa, and they said, like everywhere else, they are number one. They wanted to be number one.
Correct.
But they're not number one in Goa. So we had that opportunity, that challenge in saying that, look here, there is a size of a newspaper which is 500 times bigger than you.
Correct.
So we sort of shook up from our sleep and we said, let us replicate something which is unique to Goa, something which is, you know, the Goans will like and treat this as their newspaper.
Correct.
Fortunately, with great humility, I can say we've survived till date.
Fantastic.
Inside, Aashay, what I did was, you know, every major group of the country, the DLFs of the world came to Goa is a paradise. Goa will have huge investment scope.
Correct.
People like you all will come and buy $1 million houses in Goa. I said, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
What about the middle class, the aspirations of the middle class? I said, I want to serve the Goan community, the ones who are moving from the rural to the urban areas.
Right.
Who've got job, are aspiring from a joint family to move to a single housing unit.
Right.
Work out on a middle income housing project. Let me see the model. And that model till today, despite the recession in the real estate industry, has given us a ROI of more than 35%.
Wow.
That too on a consistent level.
Wow.
Again, coming to COVID, our ideas have again changed in the real estate. I'll tell you, again, gated communities are out now. We are getting hundreds of calls from Bombay, Delhi, Chennai, Bangalore. There are families who are telling us, we have had enough of these cities, we want to move to Goa. But build a, you know, or build large size apartments. We don't want to stay in a 100 apartment complex. So, you know, you need to rethink in these models. And I think in times, your decision-making process has to be so fast. And that gets me to another point. You have to institutionalize entrepreneurship in your own company.
Correct.
You can't be saying only Mr. Shrinivas Dempo is an entrepreneur and the rest will be all execution. You need to have entrepreneurs in every department of your company.
Right.
The decision-making process now is shortened because of the COVID uncertainty. You no longer can see the rear view mirror and say who's coming to your back.
Right.
The front glass shield and say either I'll break it and I'll go. Of course, with a lot of analysis and your proven business model.
Right.
For which you need to empower employees. And immediately we had two plans of real estate on the drawing board as we were entering COVID.
Right.
He came back to me and said, sir, let us scrap this. Let's just rework the model. And that's what we are doing now.
Fantastic.
Amazing response from people.
Fantastic.
If you give us 2 or 3 bedroom villas, we will come and invest even in this bad times.
Fantastic. I think that's a great example for even the business sector to find that arbitrage opportunity before entering into a new space and have that vision to do that. And especially during COVID times, every crisis is an opportunity. So that's a message to look for the non-obvious arbitrage and gaps in the market. For our attendees, we are approaching the halfway mark. So please keep on posting your questions in the Q&A box at the bottom. I see 7 questions till now. So we'll be approaching the Q&A segment in like 10 to 15 minutes. So please start posting your questions. Srini, now we'll jump to what a lot of people were excited about today was the sporting angle. You're a businessman who exemplifies the fitness, sports, and business mentality that is critical. For me, sport growing up in Mumbai was cricket. I grew up with Sachin Tendulkar being the only answer I had to my cousins who lived in the UK. and that was India's only answer. And today's sporting frontier in India is significantly different. You have football, you have kabaddi, you have hockey, you have table tennis. I want to understand from you. You own the Dempo. You are president of Dempo Sports Club, and Dempo Football Club, for context for everyone, is the most successful I-League club and National Football League club till today. But you pulled out of that. You pulled out of the league, and now focusing on the grassroots level for sport in India, especially football. So can you walk us through what your take is on sports in India in general and specifically football?
As you rightly said, we were always in mainstream football, right from the 50s to now. What struck me was the back page of the sports news once in a newspaper. It said that Mr. Dempo is foolishly passionate. So I was trying to introspect on that, and I said, what do you mean by foolishly passionate? Am I owning like too many cars, or am I owning like too many houses? I said, I am passionate about football because it's a legacy. It's a sport that you have grown up with.
Right.
And also a sport that you follow.
Right.
And it's also the way our companies could connect with the community at large. So it was, in short, CSR much before the term CSR was coined.
Right. Right.
Back and again analyze, what is this foolishly passionate? I said, can I do something better with this money in football? Because Indian football was going nowhere.
Correct.
Okay. We are not even in the top 100 teams of the world.
Correct.
What is going wrong where? In such a large population, in a country where now the youngsters are increasingly getting crazy more about football than cricket.
Right.
Everyone is La Liga, Bundesliga, English Premier League, but yet we aren't producing players. We aren't producing standard of football that is required. And I thought that the National League system did not encourage you to do that.
Correct.
Although we had promotion, we had relegation, we could go to the AFC level, but the thrashing that we went, not even at the European level, when we went to the Asian level.
Right. Right.
Then I said, now this needs to change. Then for a few years, I dabbled myself in ISL.
Right.
Owned the Goa franchise.
FC Goa.
Great way to start football again. Was very well marketed. Got a lot of interest built in Indian football.
Yeah.
But going back to my root question is, what do we do with quality football development in the country?
Correct.
That can only start at the age of 9, 10, 11.
Correct.
Start at the age of 18 and 19.
Correct.
Then that struck me, saying that if I put the same amount of money that I was blowing, and mind you, we were spending, and I'm talking about 2000s,
right,
1999, 2000, we were spending almost 12 to 15 crores on a team with no return. So probably if you were to see it for over a 10-year time, that was more than 100 crores down the drain.
Right.
I said, why can't we put this kind of money, if you want to spend money on something that you're passionate with?
Right.
One, useful to the society. B, sustainable over the long run.
Right.
That's when our idea of academy came. And I was very fortunate enough to get a technical director who was so passionate about it. He was in India by chance during that.
Got it.
He had coached the South African women team. He was also in charge of the South African government academy at that time.
Got it.
And he built the whole thing for me. And it's such a holistic development of the football player. It's not only about football.
Correct.
It's about his nutrition. It's
Correct.
about physical fitness. It's about his mind training. But this year, we're getting an expert sports psychologist to train them.
Fantastic.
Start this at the age of 10 and 11. It's about, the technical level of football, where we have actual classroom football and academics. So all the boys that we spot and we put them into the academy, they are given a fully paid scholarship.
Wow.
In the academy, coaching in the academy, we have affiliated to a school where we pay the school fees and the complete holistic development of the child. So what we do now is a living hostel for them, 2 grounds, one is FIFA size, one is an artificial turf for practice during the monsoon.
Got it.
Admission for them in schools. So it's like an entire school together, And we are already the great part of it is in the second year of operation, almost 3 boys of ours have qualified for playing for the underage Indian teams.
Wow.
Pre-COVID, they already went to join the football camps.
Fantastic.
It shows that the results are showing, and my purpose of telling you is the message is very clear that unless you focus on world-class, which we need external help,
right,
and on youth development, no football can develop with any sort of league.
Right.
And I believe the ISL also has asked its teams, the franchise teams, to also build both an academy model and a youth development model. So
right.
the development becomes the key. And
Right.
when you said, I said another thing about sustainability. How do you sustain this model?
Correct.
In addition to the boys that we fully fund, in about 2 to 3 years' time, when we get increasingly confident of this model, we
Right.
will also a paid model. If one of your child wants to go and learn football in a very professional way, you
Right.
can, but that will cost you money.
Right.
That's how you build. And the second thing is the boys that we train. If you look at the international model,
Right.
of the world the clubs have made millions of dollars when you transfer them.
Right.
Hope that system comes into India in the near future.
Right.
Maybe down the line, if I produce 3 Messis like this,
Right.
I could pay the cost of my entire academy by the transfer fees that I make.
Right. Exactly.
Call it wishful thinking now. We need to go to that level.
Right.
We don't take sports in our curriculum seriously at the school level.
Correct.
Not like Brazil. It's not like England.
Right.
We need to do this at an academy level to be promoted by people like us. So
Right.
that proper scientific and holistic development of the person who can then qualify for any world-class tournament or a competition.
Yeah, I love the ecosystem approach that is a very parallel in what you do in business as well as in sport. It's not about, as you said, it's all not always about the money. It's about the ecosystem and value that you build around it. Going back to the ISL, I know we have football journalists on this call today. We have football team owners. Do you think the ISL was too early for the IPLization of football? We needed to build that grassroots level talent supply first before getting into ISL. And if you are I think there's someone who owns a football club, South United Football Club today, who's on the call. What would you tell people who are looking to start football clubs as well as writing about the future of Indian football in these times?
I don't think it is too late or too early. I think somewhere down the line, you need to start. And I think, if you look at all sport, because I also am a co-owner in the table tennis league,
Yep.
our challengers. I personally believe that these kind of competitive leagues in India have given it an entirely different profile.
Right.
Now, the kids have started. The kids take to that state sort of a name, whether it's FC Goa instead of Dempo or a
Right.
Dempo team. There is Goa Challengers instead of an ex-family team.
Right.
That sort of loyalty is building. So one is you are getting it adequately well marketed, which was always missing in, Indian Football League,
Right.
National League.
Right.
Having said this, my only view would be that in addition to what you're doing, you will need to have deep pockets to build the grassroots model.
Right. Right.
Cut down on the cost of this team.
Correct.
I ran ISL for 2 years. Every time our losses just mounted.
Right. Right.
Agree with me. They don't make any more money at the moment. So the term foolishly passionate is for all of us.
Right. Right.
Who pump in money.
Right.
So real model that will start paying you is as you build, and it's a deep pocket model.
Correct.
As I said, you need to give patience a chance. So
Right.
be patient and develop this model on a very scientific basis. And then say that, okay, I have an ISL team or I'm starting a team. And then I will also substitute, I build it.
Right.
Complement it with a strong grassroots program to sort of fuel my team in the future. Not by importing players from abroad or
Yep.
the players from India, but from my own league. For example,
Right.
I have a team now. I've given a target to the academy that for my senior team in 5 years, my entire under 20 team will be my senior team.
Wow.
that will get my costs to almost 1/3 of what I'm spending today on my senior.
Right, right.
This is, I think, how we need to approach this game. And I am very, very hopeful. I'm an optimist that football is going to be the future sport. It's already a game which is so live by young
Right.
people. For example, my younger daughter doesn't watch cricket at all.
Right.
And as you said, I grew up watching, although I had a football team, but because of that national attention everywhere, I used to
Right.
watch. But after I see EPL on live and La Liga live, I sleep late at night and I get up late in the morning, but I watch that football.
Right, right.
I think the whole ecosystem has to develop in terms of strengthening the grassroots model, so that then you can fuel your big team with players. It's like a factory which produces.
Yep, yep. Amazing. And I think that long-term business as well as sporting perspective is in full vision here. And to what you said, I think business also and the economy also has to grow for sports to grow on the grassroots level. And we are thankful for leaders like you to be involved in this, because India definitely needs this. Shrini, just a time check. We have 15 minutes left, so we'll go into the Q&A session now. If you have time post 7:30 p.m. IST, if for questions, let us know. Otherwise, we can stop at 7:30. So Mansi, can you come back on with your video and we can start the Q&A session. For everyone who's asking questions, you have the option to get face-to-face time with Srini, or if you prefer, you can ask him over audio as well. It's up to you. So over to you, Mansi.
Thank you, Aashay. Thank you, Srini. I think it was a very, very interesting session, and you covered a lot of points. And I can see from the questions that people have questions, everything from sports to difficult businesses in COVID times to how do you motivate employees. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, I'm going to unmute the people who want to ask the questions so they can actually pose the question themselves. Aashay, could you please make me the host so that I can do that part?
Sure, 1 second.
Thank you. Great. So yes, all good now. So the first question, of course, is I'm going to open out for Professor Sundar Kekre. So you have the right to ask the first question to Srini. You can unmute yourself and you can ask your question, sir.
Professor Kekre, we'd love to see you, so we can turn on your video.
I don't have the option. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. Yes.
Okay.
Somehow I'm not getting the video option. Hey, Srini, that was a wonderful session. I enjoyed your recalling. So the question that I had for you is, having led the training academy and the Dempo Sports Club, what are the lessons that you have learned that have helped you to steer the Dempo group of companies from the sports world to managing the businesses?
Sports, Professor Kekre, teaches you a lot in terms of business. I think sports A is about discipline. Sports B is about hard work. C is about commitment. Okay. And D is about learning through failures. I think all these four teaches you a lot in business. When I first came and I looked at my team and I looked at the young boys, they used to get completely demotivated when we used to lose. So I used to go to the dressing room and cry with them. So when I cried with them, they felt better.
Wow.
So I think you need to walk the talk when you do this as a teamwork. So that's how I learned that, if I can replicate this in sports, and when I went there and when I consoled and cried with them, the next match came out much stronger. I attended practice sessions with them, training sessions with them. They used to do the work. I used to not go and play as a 12th man there. But I think that inspiration drawing and that lesson learning is very, very important in sport. And to drive them, to motivate them. And I think the same sort of, principles are applicable to business. Because as I said earlier, Professor Kekre, you need to empower your middle managers. In COVID times, you need to make everybody an entrepreneur. One man can't manage the show. All you need is to identify who can do it, who will be capable of doing it. So the same thing applies in football. If I want a great forward to, not miss on the chances and score, The coach needs to take a call.
Yeah.
So I'm the coach here who takes a limited and calculated risk and says, go ahead, fire that gunshot and let's see how it goes. So I think there's a lot of learning that I could do from my football experience and now apply it particularly in crisis time.
Good point. You have to share the pain and you have to share the joys of winning as well as losing. So in business, sometimes you lose, sometimes you win, and both are important. So.
Great. So the next question is from Siddharth Pai. Siddharth, are you online? I'm going to unmute you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm online.
Please go ahead with your question, Siddharth.
Hello, sir. I'm from Udupi. Pleasure connecting with you. Like my question was, is it a good time now to start a new startup or enterprise? Like if you're thinking on digital lines, I mean, what is your suggestion? I mean, is it?
I would say there is any time is a good time to start a business. And as you must be hearing so many experts, every crisis leads to an opportunity. And as I told you earlier, somebody like Madhuran said, this is the most orderly crisis.
Yeah.
Listen to the market. And what are the markets telling you? That things are going to be all right. The stock market is already giving you an indication. Now, for how long is the question? Personally, and I may be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong, that, the recovery is much faster. You need your gunpowder for the next 12 to 18 months. And that's how I'm preparing my companies. Every company I've said, you need your cash flow. You need to justify every cost in every department. Do zero-based costing, which we learned in CMU. Okay. Now, talking about your business, it's always a great time to start business, particularly in crisis time. But as I said, revisit your goals, revisit your purpose, revisit your core values, and revisit your business model. If you checklist on all these four and you tick mark, I would say go. And the second thing, if you are a startup, please raise enough cash to make you sustain for the next. I hope you are home and dry in 6 months, but raise enough cash, because I also do a lot of investments in startups. I've seen so many people bleeding and almost on the verge of closing their business because so I think that's a lesson that you should say. Either you get it from yourself or your family, friends, or whoever believes in you. Until that, my recommendation would be, do not start a business unless you are adequately covered for this period of time.
Right.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
And Srini, this is a good plug for what you're doing with MeWo and the Goa government with Mr. Pramod Sawant as well. You have set up a co-working as well as angel fund in Goa. And so are you bullish on the Goa startup scene, and what does that bode to startup enthusiasts in the country?
So we are working on it. We feel that Goa has a unique proposition of work-life balance. And I told you just now that many of my friends are saying, can we shift to Goa with this COVID? No, because Goa is relatively more spaced, less crowded. I hope we keep it that way in even your planning of housing that we do in the future, if Goa continues. But why I felt that I should promote co-working centers, and because I am extremely bullish that good talent will come into Goa. A is good ones won't leave Goa, and B is people like y'all will come to Goa and say, look here, I want to set up a business. And that's why I'm so bullish. And the whole purpose of setting up MeWo was twofold. One is I have a lot of real estate. And I said, how do I sell my real estate today? Who wouldn't like to go down in the basement and have an office?
Right.
And
Right.
Number one. Number two, I said, I may catch 2-3 Aashays there. And I said, be smart.
I'll come right now.
MeWo is free for you. Give me a equity stake in your company. So this is how I said that I will try to strike, this in one stone, two birds. And I said that let me meet both my objectives of meeting people, whether it translates into business or not, and be making good use of my real estate.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Great. So I think we go back to questions on sports, because there are a lot of people who actually have those questions. I'm going to unmute Ali Ladiwala. Are you there, Ali?
Yes.
Please go ahead with your question, because a lot of other people have the same question. So I guess with
Yes.
one answer, we'll help a lot of people.
Okay, sure. First of all, really good evening, sir. Thank you for the really insightful session. Sir, so my question was basically regarding what do you think are the prospects of the sports industry in general in India and in the next 10 to 15 years? Because as you already mentioned, and we have seen, cricket has largely really grown, but the other sports have not seen that same amount of growth. And just a follow up to that, I would just like to know what kind of economic or rather I would say employment opportunities do you think that will develop? Because personally, if I say I come from a commerce background, I was really a sports buff growing up, but I didn't get into the playing aspect. So like managing and all those aspects go out of the picture. So what do you think I can upskill in? So if the industry goes up, I can really be a part of it.
That comforts you in any way, I'm investing in sports.
Yes.
Or whether it's sports, as I said, I continue to invest in football. I'm also investing in cricket in Goa, though it's relatively restricted to the state of Goa right now. I've invested in the franchise in the TT. Okay. I can't announce it right now, but I'm looking at some other sport at a national level to invest in. So if that gives you any comfort, I feel that sports is going to be the future in this country. Having said this, I always say that sports needs deeper pockets, you know. So if you're talking from an entrepreneur point of view, I am bullish, but it has to be a long-term kind of a viewpoint. If you're talking about doing something in the area of sports, like being a professional sports management, I think the time has come now that we will need people like you. You know, playing is one thing. Playing is driven by passion and your ability to be fit and, you know, your technical skills and whatever it is. Sports management, as I was telling Aashay, you know, we need a sports psychologist now. We've already taken a sports nutritionist on board. Okay. We need a hostel warden. We need a sports hostel warden. It is that special. You know, we just can't take a warden of another hostel and put him there. Okay. So just look at from one academy, how many job openings are coming. If you ask me, we have experts in India? No, we don't have experts right now. So that should give you some sense that many others that are investing in this, in sports, not only, say, I agree with you, earlier it was 99% cricket and 1% of all the other sports. Today it's 65% cricket and 35% of all the other sports. Look at the number of people who have come up in their own sports. Take badminton, take wrestling in India, you know, take table tennis. I mean, the kind of euphoria that was created when I bought a stake in the Goa Challengers was amazing. I mean, the messages that I got, now I'm getting demand from parents in Goa saying that, why don't you have a Goa Challengers Academy in Goa? We would like to train our kids. So is that not a business opportunity in the long run? I'm extremely bullish about sports. Having said this, I will not get returns like the stock market. You know, I need to be patient, and I think you need to have, again, faith and confidence in your business model, and you should win.
Sure. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for that.
Mansi, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. So we have time for at least 2 more questions, even within our time limit. So Jennifer, I think you had a question related to CMU. So would you please go ahead and ask your question?
Sure. Thank you, Shrinivas. I've really enjoyed today's interview with you. And I am a current staff member at CMU. And I wanted you to talk a little bit about specific things at Carnegie Mellon that really helped you as an entrepreneur. You talked about the importance of building a successful vision and then being able to execute very quickly on that. What should we be stressing to our students today at Carnegie Mellon that are interested in startups over in India, businesses? Are there specific skills you can talk to or classes that were really great experience for you?
Sure. I think, you know, I personally believe more in softer skills than the harder skills. And I thought Carnegie Mellon was always a hard skill school. But when I went, and I want to particularly make a mention of one teacher who has deeply impacted my mind. was Millie Myers. I don't know whether you know her. She taught me a public speaking class.
Yep.
You know, those kind of skills today are very, very essential.
To understand science in this manner. If you're going to read Nature, nobody would be even interested in.
Mansi, I think you have to mute whoever's mind links 24/7.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
What do the students need today? All Carnegie Mellon students are extremely smart, very, very innovative, brilliant. So all that is a given. I think what it needs to teach are simple things like patience, how do you handle failure, public speaking, communication. I think, according to me, these are very, very important skills to face the challenges of the future. And I think if CMU, particularly the Tepper School, during my time, I don't think the MBA class ever stressed on how do you take failure under your control. There was no word of failure mentioned. All the Harvard business case studies that we studied were all successful.
That's right.
True.
We need to get failure right up front, because I feel that the younger generation, and Professor Kekre probably will have a view on this, I think the younger generation is very, very impatient. And that's what I see in my younger generation here in India. If they have a failure, they are completely demoralized, they're demotivated as if it's the end of the world. They don't realize that when they first sat on a bicycle, they fell 5 times. That's how simple it is. Why doesn't the society, even our banking system today, if you fail once, they don't give you another chance in India.
Correct.
Why is it? Unless somebody you can put a forensic audit and say, if he swindled the money, by all means hang him. But if it's a genuine business failure, please encourage him to do it one more time with a different business model. So I think the MBA program should focus a lot on these softer skills, which I feel are very, very, very important to face the challenges of the future.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer, for that question. The next question is actually a very interesting one from Sajid. MindLinks 24/7. I think, Sajid, can you please go ahead and ask your question?
Yeah. Hello, sir. Sir, so the session was quite informative for me, and my question is that since you have hired the first woman technical director in India and in Asia, so do you think women empowerment is evolving at the right pace right now?
In a lighter vein, I live with 4 women in my house. I'm the only man. You can imagine the kind of power they have on me. But on a serious note, I find women extremely committed. They are amazing at multitasking. I'm not putting the men down because I come from the same caste or creed, whatever you say.
Yeah, I'm terrible at it.
Just to give you an insight, my CFO is a woman. My head of technical director, as you said, is a woman. My company secretary head is a woman. So I personally believe that empowerment in India is happening. If you look at many of the bank chairmen and the CEOs, you can count so many by the finger that have been women and who have done really, really well. So I think that when people talk about the glass ceiling, that is slowly going away. I think people are more confident now. Even if you look at many of the large conglomerates, large businesses that we talk about, they have women at various levels of senior management. So although there's a lot to be done, because you may ask me another counter question and says, out of the top 20 companies, how many CEOs we have as women in the country? And then I will say that there are not many. But what I'm saying is that things are changing very fast, and women are becoming as, if not more capable than men in their respective fields.
And Srini, just a quick time check. We are over time. So do you have time for more, or should we wrap up?
Give another 5 minutes. Yes.
Okay, great. So Rahul has a question. Rahul, please go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah. Hi, Srini. This was a great session. I'm Rahul Walawalkar. I'm also from Goa. we have a family house in Nerul near Coco Beach. So it was really interesting to hear about your family story. My question is particularly related to your diversification strategy. I think I see a lot of similarities with current time with auto industry, where I keep on meeting number of third generation entrepreneurs where they have family businesses in auto ancillary or auto OEM area, and they are looking at electric vehicles either as one of the biggest disruption or maybe possibly a opportunity of lifetime. So based on your experience, can you share any thoughts for those people?
So as I said, your question is particularly to the automotive industry or my industries where I operate in?
No, so more as a general from management point of view, as a looking at as a diversification opportunity, rather than like just focusing on current business where you are doing well, you are have few more years of runway left. It's not that it's end of the road, but at the same time there is a new opportunity emerging. So how do you plan for the timing, or how do you evaluate those options?
I gave you one example of the real estate industry and how it's changing. You know, the thing is that every business will probably, or many businesses will have to change their models. As you rightly said, in the automotive industry, what I'm hearing is public transportation is going to take a big hit. You know, cycles are going to do well because it's health and they are environmentally friendly. SUVs are going to do well because they're big cars. Okay. Small cars are going to do well because if you have a small family, then you need a cost-effective car to take you somewhere. Because people may graduate from a bus transport to a small car. So these are kind of things that each one has to see in their own business model. For example, I talked about real estate industry. You also need to see how many other areas. It's very easy to say, no, you diversify in pharmaceuticals or you diversify in the IT industry. Now these sound great, but what's my domain knowledge in that? Am I capable of finding out the right product, the right process, the right people to build a new business model? So according to me, I go back to the first statement that I made with Aashay. What's the purpose of your business? When you define the purpose of your business, you will get an answer to it. Now, many of your businesses may not be like, for example, I have a media business. I know that the print media won't survive.
Right.
Because my two daughters don't read print media. They straight away go on their iPads and they read newspapers. They don't even read newspapers sometimes. They see Twitter flicks or they see the mobile flicks that go on and that's news for them. So I think that in every business there's a model. So we said that let's now go to, although it's kind of late, but it's taught us better late than never. Let's go to the digital medium and see what all can we do. It's just not putting your hard copy into an e-paper. It's doing much more than that. It's being more online with the paper. So these are business models that you need to test for yourself. Otherwise, what it becomes is, it becomes an unrelated diversification. As I said earlier, I meaningfully and purposefully decided that I will stay in the 5 segments post-mining. And for each one, I drew a plan. And now for each one, I have a plan post-COVID. I'll give you, since you mentioned diversification, in the shipbuilding industry, we were focusing on building ships. It started with a mining business that we were building barges to carry. Then we said, okay, we have this business. Then we said Goa yard is not enough. I went and acquired a yard in Gujarat. Okay. We said that we will be much closer to, it's a much more bigger yard and we'll be closer to all the government, because government is one of the biggest users, the defense sector. Okay. Today, post-COVID, we've changed the model. We said, we know that the capex is not going to happen. Even the government doesn't have money. So we said, why don't we build it into a repair vessel model? So we went and quickly upgraded our dry dock, built a completely new team and said, look here, we will vie for the repair business model. And I tell you, in 3 months, it's working. We have a great order pipeline for our Gujarat yard for the next 6 months, saying that we went and contacted the Navy. We told them that these are your number of vessels that are lined up. We can do this kind of service. So I think in every business, there was a diversification model. And this will come from your own employees. That's why I said, make entrepreneurship institutional in your businesses. And the ideas come from them. So that's how I did it, Rahul.
Thank you, Srini. And Mansi, just a quick, so I think we are at time, so we'll invite Rekha back to give the closing comments. Srini, personally, they say hope is not a strategy, but without hope, there cannot be any strategy. So when India Inc. has businessmen like you, it gives us young entrepreneurs a lot of confidence. So thank you for your long-term thinking and holistic approach guidance. Over to you, Rekha, for final comments, and then Srini, you can give your final comments to us as well.
Thank you, Shri, for such a wonderful, interesting, and engaging session. I think there was a lot of depth and breadth that you covered, and I think some of the key points which really resonated with me was the whole part about knowing what is the purpose of your business, why are you doing what you're doing, beginning with the end in mind kind of thing. And again, being true to your values, following your passions. I think, if one follows these three things, right, of understanding your purpose, being true to your values and your passions, and that's something which will always steer you in the right direction. And I think that's amazing advice, even for all the youngsters out there who are listening to this, and of course, for the rest of us too, along with a lot of the other things that you said. And thank you very much for taking out the time and coming and being part of this event for us. At our Mumbai chapter, the CMU Mumbai Alumni chapter, we're trying to host, a number of different speakers covering different topics. And I think this has been a great one that we have had today. Thank you very much, Aashay and Mansi, for organizing and hosting and moderating the entire session. So back to you, Aashay.
Thank you, Rekha. And Srini, would love to have a final pearls of wisdom from you before we close. If you had one message of hope for all of us, what would it be?
Particularly to the younger lot, I would say be willing, unlock your potential, and believe in yourself. I think these are the three things that you need, basically. And I think, if you define your purpose in life, it becomes a much easier journey than trying to struggle and say, this works or this doesn't work. This would be my final comment.
Great. Thank you, Srini. Thank you, Rekha. Thank you, Mansi. And thank you, everyone, for joining. We'll be back for our next event soon. Thank you again. Bye-bye.
Our next event is on July 3rd. You want to just make that announcement?
Yes. So we are hosting the CMU Agro Series for the future of agriculture on July 3rd. We're going to have a panel from the leaders of Mexico, which is they pioneered India's green revolution, Foods and Inns, which is a processed foods giant, as well as Orgos, which is a startup based for grain banks in Bihar. So it's going to be exciting. We're going to send out invites. Srini, I hope you attend as well. And we're looking forward to it.
To let you know, I've added an 11th segment to my business, and that's it.
Oh, fantastic.
Talk about right now.
Okay.
That's my line of work as well. So we should connect on that.
Okay.
Definitely. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for attending too and for your
Bye.
questions.
Thank you, everybody.
Mansi, I think you can end the